So, quick summary. Every great story has these 5 essential elements: the protagonist, the ambitions of the protagonist, the inciting incident that gets you going on the journey, the conflicts that you encounter or anticipate encountering, but the audacious outcome that keeps you going. Now, what we've adapted, so this is what Donald Miller's group was not doing, is we've looked at these essential elements and we've adapted the Kersey Bates totem elements to the elements of the great story. Okay, so for example, in just a moment, you're going to learn what your totem is according to, totem's like totem pole, right? So you're going to learn what that is according to your Myers-Briggs Kersey Bates score. So under the protagonist, you would put your totem. Okay, so not just your name, because your totem then kind of tells you what your personality is. And then, according to your totem, you prefer what you want. Actually, different totems want different things. Okay, now what we already said was, what we're going to apply this to is spiritual maturity. And so even desiring the mind of Christ, how does your personality shape how you want that? Okay, and this all makes sense later. Inciting incident. I don't know that there's a personality or totem specific way to look at inciting incidents. Like for example, you know, if we're all on an airplane, we're all different totems, and the airplane crashes, that had nothing to do with our personality, right? Right? We all experience the same thing. It all happened to us, but how we handle it, how we handle the same thing that's happened to us, that may be more totem specific. Does that make sense? So we left that a little bit blank. Conflicts, there are certain crises that different totem personalities have that other totem personalities don't have. And then epiphanies, what's an epiphany?
An aha moment.
Okay, it's aha, right? So even the epiphanies that we have tend to be totem specific. So I was like, oh, now I get it, right? And somebody with a different totem wouldn't get the same thing. And then your audacious outcome is ultimately what's your motivation? Right? And again, I think different personalities are motivated by different things. If you have children, you might also be thinking, I know Rosa's already thinking of her 3 children, right? Because this applies to everybody in your family, right? Okay, now the other thing here is that there is value in having mentors. And one of the exciting things that's happening at Evergreen LA now is we've started this mentoring program. How many of you are either a mentor or a mentee? Okay? We started that mentoring program without really talking to Ryan and this whole totem thing. And there are certain pairings of totems that are ideal and other ones not so much. Yeah. And this also has a lot of implications for relationship compatibility and all that kind of stuff. We talked about it and we said it doesn't mean that, you know, if you find out the totem of your mentor or your mentee and it doesn't fit the pairing here that we're going to talk about, that's okay. You can still go ahead with it. If you find that it's good, but it's not necessarily what both of you hope it to be, it may be time to make a change. But you know, life is not that simple where you always get exactly what you want. Mentors come at different times in different totems' life that makes it important. So we'll talk about that later. But most of the stories that we see in the movies, the mentor comes early. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Morpheus, right? All that stuff. Because they have to talk that would-be hero into going on the journey. But that's not the only place that other totems actually need. There's one specific totem that we're going to talk about today that needs Obi-Wan at the front end. Right? There's another temperament that I don't need anyone, I'm going. And then you crash and burn, right? You're Top Gun, right? You're the guy Tom Cruise played, and he's too cocky. And then it's when his wingman dies. Now he needs a mentor because he wants to quit, right? So it's also fascinating about kind of according to our personality totem where we will especially benefit from having a mentor. Now. The way to best benefit from a mentor is when you are completely surrendered. Because now you're teachable. And so again, according to our personality, that comes at different places in the journey. All right. This will make sense when Ryan starts teaching, but I think that looks like him. Too much
Thank
Red-
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Too much Red Bull. So for those of you who don't know Ryan, he's literally grown up at this church. His dad is Hiroshi. He was our property deacon. He's had a bunch of health setbacks the last couple of years. He was here on the Super Bowl party. His mom is, I'm blanking now. Miko, right? And she's taking care of him. The thing that's interesting about Ryan is he's an attorney, he's a financial planner, and he's a masseuse. Right? I mean, if you ever want a deep tissue, rock your world, yeah, that's the guy right there. And he actually owns his own store that has other masseuse therapists there, right? So that's an interesting combination of things. And for the last 15 years or so, you've been studying the Myers-Briggs through the Kersey Bates sort of thing. That has nothing to do with being a lawyer, right? Nothing to do with massaging people. So that's a little bit of his backstory. You can unpack that as you get to know him. But I want to have you tell them, Ryan, like, was there an inciting incident? What got you into this whole Kersey Bates thing when you did?
Yeah. Before we start with that, for guys who don't know me, for the people who don't know me, can you call me by my middle name, Marshall, or Ryan Marshall? No one knows me by Marshall, but if you could, for those who never met me, if you call me Marshall, I appreciate that. So you asked about the inciting incidents.
Yeah, why?
Why what? Why?
It's in his backstory.
Oh, because when I was growing up, there were so many Ryans. And I met several Ryan Tanakas. It got confusing.
You went to Marshall High School?
No, I didn't go to Marshall High School. My parents met at Marshall High School, hence my name. Right.
Oh.
Right, see? No, there is a reason.
Backstory.
In Scouts, Evergreen Scouts, there was 5 Ryans and there's only 20 boys, and like 25% of the people are Ryan. So when I finished college, it's like, Marshall, please call me Marshall. It's just, I got emails from girls. I'm like, who is this? I don't know this person. Oh, it's a different Ryan Tanaka they're sending to. They're sending it to Ryan Michael Tanaka, who went to law school and is an econ major at UCI, who's 1 year younger than me. So it's just got really confusing. So I'm like, okay, just call me Marshall, so I don't have to turn my head all the time, and they're not talking to me. So there is a reason behind that. The reason why I got interested in this is because I think a lot differently than other people. I felt awkward in grade school, picked on a lot, and I was actually okay with it. I didn't feel like there was a lot of, it didn't drag me down too much. But when I got into the professional world, I had a hard time with work. I got fired from 2 jobs, and it was basically putting things in alphabetical order. I couldn't do that. I was like, how is it that I graduated college and I can't put things in alphabetical order? So like, there's something I got to learn about myself. I mean, do I have ADD? I mean, I could maybe, but I stumbled upon the Myers-Briggs in my first year of college, but it wasn't until after I graduated college where I really just bought the book, read it from cover to cover, and then I read it again from cover to cover, and I did that about 6 more times, and then
According to his personality.
it's
Very thorough.
And so I showed a friend who's actually the same personality type as Ken, and we were both in Scouts together, and we're like, hey, let's put all these patrols based upon personality type, which we want to learn today, or temperament, and then their intelligence and their confidence levels. Well, we kept those 3 things in mind, and so we made groups. We had patrols that were all young kids, which was unheard of doing. You don't necessarily put a 7th grader in charge of 6th graders, but we did it just because the 7th grader was highly intelligent and highly confident. And that year, it was in 2005, we won every single competition. I was like, wow. I'm like, there must be something to this. Like, we put a synergistic group of people together. So I thought, this is something that may be useful. And so, well, because at the time, which was about 10 years ago, you're thinking, let's see if it works. I don't know. It works in theory. Does that mean that I could actually pull it off. Those are two separate questions. And it got to the point where nowadays I see people in personality types. And people say, what's their ethnicity? I'm like, I don't know what their ethnicity is. You don't ask them? No. Why not? That's not important to me. But then I know what their personality type may be because it's easier for me to remember. I did that early on, and then I stopped doing that, though, because people say, oh, you're putting people in a box. Well, okay, I won't do that anymore. So I didn't do that for about 3 or 4 years. But then when people ask me a question about a person, oh, they're like this. Then this is why they're like this. They're like, oh, that's great. How did you know that personality type? And to the point where people just kept asking me about themselves. Can you tell me why this? Okay, well, this is why I couldn't. And so many people have asked me about why they are like this based on types that I'm like, okay, let's take it out of the bag. My friend's been asking me to teach a class. I told my friend, no, this is not something that's fun. He's like, oh, are you kidding me? This is great. People would love to know this stuff. I'm like, yeah, people love to know about themselves, but they don't like to know the personality theory. He's like, no, Marshall, this is great. They're going to eat this up. So I taught a class. Most of them was my friends. And then next week, half of them showed up. I'm like, what happened? He's like, well, you didn't talk about ourselves. I'm like, you didn't ask me to teach me about yourself. You asked me to teach me about the theory. He's like, oh, but I meant to learn about ourselves. I'm like, oh, well, I was listening to you, which I always tend to do, but maybe I didn't hear from the heart what you were actually saying. So this is a learning process for me and how to teach this class, because I'm going to have to learn how people want to absorb the information, because I actually want to absorb the information up here and travel down here. I suspect, being Ken's church, it's going to go this way.
A little lower. Yeah, much lower than that.
So I would appreciate you guys posting on the Facebook page, asking questions, so that it would give me an understanding on how you guys like to absorb the information. Because when Ken sent me a list of questions to answer, like 7 or 8 questions, I was like, oh, all these have to do with values. Nothing about the ingredients to like nothing about how the theory began. Nothing like that. I'm like, that's a huge, I really do need insight to everyone to see what's important to you.
Okay. Now, isn't that helpful, knowing his backstory about why he's into this and how he got into this, right? So again, it all very practical. Say a little bit about what's your understanding of the difference between Myers-Briggs and the Kersey-Bates approach? They're still using the same scores.
Okay, so the little bit of history is that 4 types has been around for thousands of years, learning about 4 different types. The Greeks, the Romans, in the Renaissance. And you guys might have heard of like melancholics, and melancholy and cholerics and sanguine. Well, what I have found out in reading those books is that this is a technology, in a sense that these are frames of way which we begin to understand people. And as we have matured in this personality theories, so too has our technology been better on how to understand people. Vocabulary has increased. Understanding of that vocabulary has increased. And I find out the big turn in this is Carl Jung, who said there's not just 4, there's 16. And so he said he gave everyone 4 letters, which you guys all have 4 letters. Right. And then who added to that? And then the Myers-Briggs added to that. They're the wife and daughter team. And what Kersey-Bates has done is that they said, even though there's 4 letters, 2 of those 4 letters are more important than all the rest. So why I like the Kersey temperament is because it focuses on what are the core values on each 4 types, and it separates the 4 types differently than the Myers-Briggs do. They emphasize the letters differently than the Myers-Briggs do.
So when we start showing you the letters that matter, you'll see that if you have an N, for instance, as your second letter, then the fourth letter doesn't matter. Neither does the first one, right? It's the third letter. But if you have an S, it's actually the fourth letter, right? So you'll see how this works out. It's much simpler, which appeals to me. Okay. Okay. So these are the 4 different totems: the beaver, the fox, the dolphin, and the owl. And based on your totem of personality, you're going to have a different approach to the same goal, which is spiritual maturity. Now, Ryan, tell them just how I designed this slide before I showed it to Ryan. And then his feedback was, dolphins always put themselves first. And beavers always get put last, right? Yeah. So anyway, it's just funny. It's like it's always there, and unless you have this awareness, you're just going to do what you do. Okay. So
by the way, if you talk to someone and they go, "Oh, what did I turn out?" Dolphin, they're like, "Yes." They'll always say that. They'll always say that. I don't know, more than any other. Like if you meet it, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's logical. But if you, yes, that's what I wanted to be all along. Winner. I knew it.
Yeah. All right. So before I turn it over to Ryan Marshall, I want to.
Ken can call me Ryan.
Yeah.
He has a license.
That's right. All right. So these are the questions that are going to guide our journey through the My Storyline in adapting it with totems. What does each totem seek in their spiritual journey? So that's the what do you want. How is each totem tripped up spiritually? So our personalities set us up to have weaknesses, to have blind spots. And spiritually the same thing. So we're going to get into that. Why isn't it enough for totems to know what their problems are going to be so that they can avoid problems in the future? Okay? So it's like, okay, so you told me what to avoid, then I'll make sure it'll never happen. And it's like, that's pretty naive. What experiences must each totem have to be completely broken, and why? Okay, so different experiences break different totems differently. And what do we say about when are we most ready to be well mentored? It's when we're broken, right? When we've hit bottom, when we've surrendered, when we're Saul lying in the dust on the Damascus road. When God is speaking to a specific totem, how would he or she know that it is indeed God? So even how we think we hear God, or we know we hear God, it's different according to our totem. And what is the audacious outcome for the fully mature totem? So if you and I believe that for all Christians we're supposed to have the mind of Christ, according to my totem, how is that actually going to look different than somebody else with a different totem? Okay, so again, I think the value of what we've done here in this course is to not just teach this general thing, but is to say, let's dig a little deeper and find out how you're wired to go on the same journey. All right, so take it away, Ryan Marshall.
All right, so
look who's on top. That was not my original slide.
Yeah. I say, Ken, put the beavers on top and the owls on the bottom. Owls won't care if they're on the bottom. They don't care. It won't hurt their feelings. Okay, so if you're a beaver,
these will be bigger, so don't worry about this. We're going to blow it up. Yeah, I did this on purpose.
If you're a beaver, you have an S and a J in your personality type. You have S and J? S and J?
Raise your hands.
Okay. Okay, so the S has to do with the word sensor. Sensors think of them as people who are grounded, as opposed to the intuitive people who have their heads in the clouds. So if you think of a grounded type of person, can you guys give me feedback right now on what is a grounded person? What do they naturally think about, or what's on their mind? Practical, exactly. Number one, they are practical. Ken is a N. Is he practical? No, he's actually probably the least practical person, a pastor that I've met, which is why I like him and I appreciate him so much. But if you are with Ken, you have to understand that what we do is not going to be practical. In fact, he was so proud about not being practical and starting 30 years too soon.
That's right.
Anything else? Anything else about a grounded person that you guys can think of? Or what's that? Order, in what way order? Okay, so that is true to a beaver, but not necessarily true to a guardian, not true to a S. It's not true to necessarily the fox, but yes, the beaver is concerned about keeping things in order. Anything else?
Predictable.
Structure, predictable. Predictable is good. Like what they do, they want to know exactly what's going to come out of it. So if it's like, wait a second, I don't want to invest all this time and not know. So tell me exactly what I'm going to learn first, and then I'll make the decision as to do it. Whereas the N, I'm going to study personality type. Let's see what happens. I'm going to see I don't know what's going to happen. Is that we're spending several years on it? I don't know. We'll see. So they really are concerned like, what am I going to do? What's next? Where am I going to go? What directions do I need to follow? And so that is what a sensor is. Usually, actually, I talk about foxes first, but let me just talk about foxes just for 1 second. SP, if you're a fox, you're a SP.
See, show of hands. SPs.
2 foxes, wow.
Foxes.
Let me just point out that diagonally across the personality type from a dolphin is foxes. And those are the people I at least get along with, according to the personality type. But that's good feedback. So SP, if you're SP, I jokingly call them sensory pleasers. Sensory pleasers, I joke around, but it's, I think of them, their struggle is probably hedonism. They like to do whatever feels good. So
We'll turn off the feed to your wife right now.
yeah. So to a sensory pleaser, can you guys tell me feedback what a person would like if they're a sensory pleaser, like in broad terms? Well, wait, so that's, you're probably N right now saying that, but like, what is comfortable in terms of the senses?
I think they would like a lot of excitement and stimulation.
Right, but what is excitement and stimulation?
New experiences, probably.
Danger.
Danger.
See, okay, these are all broad terms. So, specific things. Okay, yeah, so
Climbing.
food, but is a sensory pleaser going to eat boiled carrots for dinner? No, man, they're gonna have like fried chicken with ranch and sriracha sauce on that. That's what they're going to have. They're going to turn up the music a little bit louder. They're going to put a little more bass. They're going to have complex, stimulating music, which is why they're into music. But
I bet a lot of your massage customers are in that.
No, Magic Mountain. Disneyland
well, we're getting to that. That's a little.
too sedate.
My massage is not about sensory pleasing because it's extremely painful.
It is.
So it's about.
It is.
It should not be enjoyable unless you're masochistic. Yeah, it should not. So I see the fox as a sensory pleaser, absorbing. That makes them very good around their surroundings. But the J in the beaver, what it is like, okay, wait. Senses, we have senses, but we don't want to be so hedonistic. We want to be very careful in what things that we receive into our body. So they might eat boiled carrots for dinner and say, but I'm healthy now. And be really happy about that. They might want to go out and play, but say, you know what, I have a value of hard work. So they'll stay home and work. And then they'll be like, why are you guys having fun? What's the point of having fun when you could work? Work is so important. You could stay home and have fun folding the laundry with me. Come on now. I was like, that's not fun. The fox is like, please, let's go out and have fun.
Look at all these things we're crossing off the to-do list.
The beaver will be like, if you're going to watch TV, why don't you just do the laundry? Or why don't you do your taxes? Like, fox is like, it's not fun anymore. It's not fun. It's like a beaver might say to them, but you know what? It's just TV. They think the TV is background noise, and they'll think while they're watching TV, they think they're wasting time. So, who's more fun out of these two? The fox is so much more fun. So in terms of social settings, guys, foxes, of these two, in terms of social settings, foxes get all the glory. And beavers, okay, that's a lot of work. We'll give this to Pastor Jonathan. You'll get it done.
Pushing those carts out.
If I ask Pastor Ken any logistical question, he'll be like, okay, ask Pastor John. They'll get things done. They're very reliable, and it's because they're actually wary of pleasing their senses. Instead of sensory pleasers, these are people who say, you know what, let's dull our senses a little bit, and let's keep on working hard and get things done. So then we have, do you guys have any questions so far?
Now,
I know you guys have questions.
Did you want to put up the labels yet?
Oh, I don't even know how to do that. So if you're S, because these are people who are practical, because these are people who want to look one step ahead and follow rules, the next important category is either the J or the P, because that affects your senses more than other letters.
So introversion and extroversion doesn't really...
Oh, so another thing that is really cool about the Kersey Bates is that it puts less emphasis on introversion and extroversion. I should explain what that is. Extroverts are generally people who get energy from their outside surrounding, outside stimuli, which means that they would typically enjoy people around them because it's extra stimulus. An introvert is a person who likes less stimuli because they like to focus on one specific stimulus and get things done that way. It's ironic that I think it's counterintuitive that introverts tend to be more, they get distracted easier than extroverts. Which is why if you throw myself in the club, I'll be like, there's too much lights, there's too much sound, there's too much people, there's too much movement. That's really uncomfortable for me as a pretty big introvert, actually. But extrovert, when they see a lot of stimulus, they go to the club. If they're younger, they'll be like, yeah, let's go, let's have some fun. So it puts less emphasis on that. Another thing to note is that as we get older, we're more comfortable being extroverts. So if you are close on this extrovert and introvert category, if you're something where one question over towards the extrovert, perhaps you were that introvert all along who learned to become an extrovert. What I like doing about this, what I like to do in going over someone's test with them personally, I look at their skill sets and what they tested at. And if they're off, I'm like, you know what? This letter probably tested incorrectly for you. Because according to this theory, there's an 85% chance of them getting it right based upon what you answered. But 15% of people get it wrong. Because you actually have to know yourself to take the test. And that's not always easy for everyone to know themselves. Actually, Benjamin Franklin said that. So if you're a N, think of a person who has their heads in the clouds, guys. Can you guys chime in and let me know what you think that person may end up being, or what your experience of them might be? Marketing? No, like how would they think?
Irrationally.
Irrationally? Yeah. In fairness, I mean, that is 100% true. They think they're thinking rationally. But most likely the beaver will be like, oh my God, you cannot do this. There's rules set in place for a reason, guys. They're set so that we can follow them. Why would you set rules and not follow them? That's so irrational.
I'd say intuitive.
Right.
No, a beaver saying that.
Yeah.
A beaver saying you're so...
saying that. So the Chinese godfather was like a beaver, right? He was just telling me, these are the rules, you need to play it, right? And I was like, okay, it took me 5 seconds to hear the rules, and I intuitively know I don't have to follow them. Right? I don't have any proof, but I know. So even this whole thing we're doing, Ryan started telling me this stuff when he was doing this painful deep tissue massage because I had all these cramps from a really hard ride. And even though I was surprised my neighbors didn't call the cops, I was making so much screaming, right? But in the midst of that, he was sharing this, and the light bulbs are going on in my head. And I said, you know what? I'm going to completely change the course that we were going to do from my storyline. I think we need to adapt this in there, right? And then, I tried to explain it to other people who aren't wired like me, and they're like, "Where's your proof? Like, how do you know?" Right? And it's just like, I know that I know. Right. So, but I think already, you see the synergy of the two things coming together, right? See, so I was right. But I also knew that he's an owl, and so I work really well with owls because he's the brain trust on this, right? He's got all this kind of stuff for it, and I just needed to organize it and to package it and to bring it to you.
So again, guys, when you think of someone who has a head in clouds, tell me what you think they may be like.
Big ideas.
Big ideas, exactly. So they are looking 10 years ahead, whereas S would tell them, Fox, a guardian, would say, dude, let's just get this done first. No, but we gotta look ahead. That's not always easy to follow through with, but that's why they have big ideas. Anything else? Head in clouds? Dreamers. Yeah, they want to do the impossible. I don't want to do anything simple. That's boring. That will not get me excited about anything. I want to be dreaming about something has to do with string theory or dreaming of equality. So that's what an N would typically think of. See, is this?
Oh, so you want to back up one? You're going to cover each one of these.
Okay.
Yeah. Just take it down.
So then if you're intuitive, there's two letters that affect you, would be whether you're NF and NT. And I was like, can I predict 60 between over 60%, and I would say 60 to 65% of people at this church would probably be an NF. Why?
NF or NT?
NF. I don't know if it's true or not. I just threw that out.
Because I scared the other people away.
It's like, if you get a dolphin and you put it in front of Ken, they'll be like, yes, I agree with this. This is exactly how I feel. This is exactly how I feel. You struck a chord within me. They are people who, if they're in part of the body of Christ, I think of them as the heart. They want to know who they are. They want to know their place with the rest of everyone around them, who they are in relation to their family, but who they are in relation to the church, who they are in relation to nature, are they in relation to God, with animals. They want to connect with everything from a place of the heart. That's what makes them the most spiritual. I always joke around, if you see a person in the movies or whatever where they're wearing long flowy clothes with sandals and they have a aroma lit candle, and they don't wear any makeup, and maybe they have a necklace on but it's made out of wood, it's like, there's a dolphin! There is a dolphin! So I call them the tree huggers. With that said, how many do you guys think, with a show of hands, do you guys think more people, churches are typically filled with guardians or idealists? So, guardians, show of hands. Yeah. Okay, well, I don't need to go to the other one. Yeah. Guardians created church, in a sense. They created that structure where it's on Sunday and it's at 10 a.m. Because afterwards we want to get some brunch. They love that structure. Whereas idealists, NF wouldn't necessarily feel they have to worship God on a certain day, but guardians love that structure.
And then the order of the program the same every Sunday, right?